Let's talk about big tech, and I want to bring this up. There's a note out from Laura Martin over at Needham earlier today talking about Apple potentially buying Disney, what that would do for Apple's business. She's saying that that's going to unlock an upside of about valuation upside of 15 to 25%. Any strategic value for Apple in potentially buying Disney?
Listen, I think it would be absolutely great. I mean, if you think about Apple here and what they could potentially buy out there, Disney would make all the sense in the world from the perspective that that's a high quality type of company, an absolute great brand. And to have the opportunity to buy that would be great. In our view, though, that's not happening. If you're thinking about Apple here, clearly in the past they've never done anything north of $3 billion in terms of beats, in terms of M&A, and they're going to continue to do what they've done in the past, and that is buy back their stock and buy back it aggressively. So in our view, that's probably boring for investors to hear, but in our view, probably the right call.
So would you rule out M&A altogether for Apple in the year ahead?
I think it's tough because, and you have to think about Apple here. I mean, they typically do make about an acquisition per month, or at least that's what they've said in the past. So they do M&A, but it's typically on the smaller scale side of things, very small, incremental to their business. And when you start thinking about some of the regulatory issues out there and what, from the political standpoint, what they want to see from big tech out there, I think the last thing they really want to see is significant M&A or large M&A from these, bigger tech companies. So in our view, they probably steer clear of it.
Angelo, Apple also announced the Worldwide Developers Conference in June. Lots of talk about that mixed reality headset. How does that move the needle at all? How big of a hit, if we do get it, could that product potentially be, do you think?
Yeah, I mean, as far as we're concerned, in 23 and probably 24, it's not going to move the needle. I think it's a positive, an incremental positive, especially for their wearables segment out there. I mean, it's a small bit, overall, their wearables division, about 10% of their revenue. So this has the potential, if you're looking at about $1 million to $2 million in potential sales here over the next year, it has the potential to move at least the wearables segment incrementally, but nothing kind of that's necessarily going to move the top line significantly. But again, it does increase their addressable market. We think it's important longer term for them to continue to find these new opportunities and expand that addressable market. So from our perspective, this is going to be a flagship device where you're going to see kind of lower price points over time, where they can potentially kind of generate more revenue over time. But over the next 12 to 18 months, it's not a big deal in our view.
Elsewhere in tech, still a lot of talk about a potential TikTok ban and what that could mean for other companies. You cover Snap and Google, who could benefit via YouTube Shorts. How likely do you think a TikTok ban is, and who would be the biggest beneficiaries in the space?
So in our view, we still place probably about a 35% probability it happens, 35 to 40%. And the way we would look at it here is probably 6 to 9 months ago, we would have placed less than a 10% chance out there. So the odds are definitely growing, and I think that's why you've kind of seen some improved enthusiasm in a number of these type of social media type names. In terms of the names that would be the biggest beneficiaries, we have pegged Snap as the biggest beneficiary out there, clearly because they're probably the smallest player within the space, and a name that kind of, if you look at who they cater to, very comparable to the TikTok community out there. So it's a name that we think can kind of see significant improvement in DAUs and also see some, potential incremental addition on the ad side of things. So that's the name that we think, at least from an immediate perspective, would be the biggest beneficiary if you think that's the ultimate outcome.
Great stuff. Angelo Zeno, appreciate that, CFRA.